Hello everybody, this is Jeremy Mateo within the DAW. Welcome back. Today's video is going to be another video taking a look at the Comp 3A Junior, which is right here from Golden Age Project. This is going to be a video on male vocals and how I would go about processing them, but also a video showing you how you could use this in a live situation when you're recording and you want to record through a compressor. The reason why I say that is because the demo tracks we're going to be using is a demo recording with no processing besides an EQ before it. And this is actually how I go about recording nowadays. The normal way that I do live recordings with artists is I go through my tube preamp and then go through my compressor and then straight into the console. So the way that I'm showing you how to do this is essentially how you would do it for a live situation where you want to do very gentle compression to just do some control. And this helps you not clip the input of your converters or your interface while also having a little bit of character and control. Keep in mind that this is an old demo track that I recorded years ago for the artist Joe August. He also has his own solo project and he is a music therapist. So I will have links down below so you can find his music. This is an old demo we recorded years ago when he was still in college, but this is a really good example of a really raw recording and how you can use something like the Comp 3A Junior to really rail in the dynamics and help things fit together well. So let's jump in and take a look. All right, now for this example, I've chosen to use a pretty rough vocal demo track just because I thought it would be a good way of showing you how flexible this thing is. Now, as you know, it has 3 attack and release times, A, B, and C, along with a high-pass filter for the detection circuit. You can also turn it on and off like this, and you turn the unit off by simply turning it off. And again, output gain and gain reduction, so this controls how much compression you're going to be getting. So what I want to do is see how these vocals sound without using the Comp 3A Junior. The only thing I've done on this session is I've done some pre-EQ, and this is a really rough vocal. So if we actually listen to just the vocal without any processing whatsoever.
She's got it bad for me. I sip on a poison tonight.
You hear the rumble of the microphone. You hear a little bit of plosives because we didn't use a very good pop filter. So just with the Pro Q3.
She's got it bad for me. I sip on a poison tonight.
So that's done a lot. So after that, we're using pipeline to send the signal into the Comp 3A Junior. So let's listen to this signal as it is with the Comp 3A Junior bypassed in the mix. And we're going to have the delays and reverbs turned off for now.
She's got it bad for me. I sip on a poison tonight. She never had to be the one to come save my life.
Cool, so the vocal doesn't sound bad by any means. One thing you may really notice is that the vocal itself kind of has this interesting character to it where the dynamics is very, very dynamic. If we go right here especially, you'll see that you get a pretty quiet passage and it gets loud, it gets quiet, loud, quiet, quiet, loud, and then extremely loud. Let's focus on right here.
She's got it bad for me. I sip on a poison tonight.
In the mix, that actually doesn't translate very well because in order to keep the vocals above the music at all times, it has to be relatively loud, and those loud peaks really make it sound over the top.
She's got it bad for me. I sip on a poison tonight.
Thus making it sound almost like it's pumping back and forth. So let's see what we can do. We're going to turn on the Comp 3A Junior. I'm going to set it to the slowest attack time, and we're going to just see how we can get some compression. So let's set up a quick little loop.
She's got it bad for me. I sip on a poison tonight. She's got it bad for me. I sip on a poison tonight.
Now, C is the slowest time that this has, and notice how it has a lot of pumping. It'll grab it, but not very fast, and at the same time, it also holds onto it a little bit too much. We'll have the high pass filter turned on just to get a little bit less gain reduction, and that's because it's bypassing some of the low end.
She's got it bad for me. I sip on her poison tonight.
It's definitely a little bit smoother, but it's still too slow for me. Let's try B, and we're going to remove the high pass filter.
She's got it bad for me.
That to me sounded a lot better. Remember that B is actually the original timing that the Comp 3A has, so this is going to be essentially what you'll get if you use the Comp 3A. I really like this.
She's got it bad for me. I sip on her poison.
We're only really touching the very, very peaks, so if we get a little bit more gain reduction, and we're only going to be setting this to just under 2, we should get a different tone.
She's got it bad for me. I sip on her poison tonight. She's got it bad for me. I sip on her poison tonight.
So the uncompressed one has a lot more dynamics, obviously, but notice how it has a little bit less mid-range to it. It almost sounds like it gets a little bit thinner.
She's got it bad for me. I sip on her poison.
Now, the beat time is obviously a little bit too slow for this particular sound. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to speed it up, and we're actually going to bypass using the high pass filter in general, because I have a feeling that the A time is definitely going to be the one for this. As you know, I actually use all of my voiceovers using the A time. As you can see right now, if I talk really loud, it's going to just grab the peak. So we're going to use this to do some gentle peak reduction.
She's got it bad for me. I sip on her poison. She's got it bad for me. I sip on her poison tonight.
That was pretty invisible. Let's bypass it.
She's got it bad for me. I sip on her poison tonight.
Cool. So let's listen to it in the mix, and we'll have it off, and then we'll play it again so you can hear how it's subtly controlling it, but it's also adding enough character and control to keep it at a very consistent volume. Keep in mind that the before and after, the peak level is actually quieter in the after when this is on, but because it is compressed, it has a louder feel because there's less dynamic range.
She's got it bad for me. I sip on her poison tonight. She's got it bad for me. I sip on her poison tonight.
Now, because we have so much gain reduction going on, we're going to back it up a tiny bit, but I'm also going to increase the output gain because the overall volume of this track and the vocal is hitting past -6 without the compression. So if we turn the compression on, we want to hit around the same peak. Not exactly the same peak and not exactly over the peak, but kind of close. So I'm going to go for maybe -7 for the peak volume returning after the compressor. It's a little bit quieter than the original source, but because it has a higher RMS, I'm able to get a louder feel. So without it,
she's got it bad for me.
And with it,
she's got it bad for me. I sip on her poison tonight. She's got it bad for me. I sip on her poison tonight.
that is extremely transparent, even though it is actually doing quite a bit of limiting. Because when you think about it, it is grabbing these peaks really fast and really hard and just slamming them down. But you don't really hear that, do you? Especially not in the mix. Let's listen to it in solo one last time with it on.
She's got it bad for me. I sip on her poison tonight.
With it off,
She's got it bad for me. I sip on a poison tonight.
It almost sounds like nothing's really happening. It's just adding a little bit of character to it. Let's turn on the effects and let's see how it sounds in the actual mix. So we're gonna back up just a touch. So we'll start off bypassed and then we'll turn it on.
She's got it bad for me. I sip on a poison tonight.
Let's turn it on.
She's got it bad for me. I sip on a poison tonight. She never had to be the one to come save my life. Oh.
Cool, there you go. Really quickly and really transparently, we've controlled the dynamics. And I really didn't do much. I just set it to the fastest time setting. I don't have the high pass filter on. And I just did about 3 to 5 dBs of gain reduction at max. That also means that I'm doing just a tiny bit of level increase because I believe normally having this set to just below 3 or that little dot in the middle is usually about even. I hope this one is pretty cool. I'm trying to go for a quicker one because you already saw how this sounds. And I'm just showing you a quick, rough, and dirty way of using this. Keep in mind that if you are tracking, this is a great way of controlling peaks because as you see right now, I'm only doing about maybe even less than 3 dBs of gain reduction on my own personal voiceover, but it is controlling the peaks and helping me get some control into everything. This is a great way of tracking live without getting a lot of unwanted artifacts. Oftentimes using something like an 1176 is amazing for tonal character, but if you don't know what you're doing, you can overdo it very, very easily. Whereas something like this is very simple, very easy, and really doesn't cause any issues if you know how to use it lightly. All right, you guys. So that was the Comp 3A Junior on some really rough vocal recordings. And I hope this was a pretty cool video. I really wanted this to be very straightforward and to the point. Keep in mind that, like I said, this is how I go about recording something to tape or to the console. I oftentimes go through my preamp, then I go through a compressor of sorts. Usually it'll be a DBX, but lately it has been the Comp 3A Junior. And when you're recording to tape and you're not very sure about what you're doing, it's very, very safe to do only about 2 or 3 dBs of gain reduction at max. I often do this just because it adds a little bit of character, but I noticed that it helps you prevent any type of overloads that you can get into your converters. Some interfaces, even though you're not clipping, will have some unwanted artifacts or distortion just because the converters aren't really that great. And once you start hitting maybe past -6 all the way to 0, you can actually hear some audible artifacts. So recording down through something like a Comp 3A Junior is a great way of having some subtle and controlled compression that can prevent any unwanted artifacts later on. This is Jeremy Mateo within the DAW. I hope you like this video. Stay tuned because next we're going to be checking out the Comp 3A Junior on some female vocals. So remember to check out the links down below where I'll have music from Joe August, where I will have links to where you can get the Golden Age Project products and a link to some of our free stuff that we give out on our website. This is Jeremy Mateo within the DAW. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.